wanted the drones to be as realistic as possible. Coming from a design background, that's, for me, one of the most fun parts of the project. Designing these vehicles down to every nut and bolt, every detail, so that when it's built, it feels like a real machine.
The design of them needed to relate to the bubble ship, also needed to relate to the Sky Tower. All these elements, the elements that come from the TET, all have to relate to one another. So you really wanted to make sure the ball, related to the engines of the bubble ship and the cockpit, and wanted to, be in that family. And the guns on the drone, they're not exactly the same, but they're very similar in flavor to the guns on the bubble ship. So all these things kind of relate to each other.
What was interesting about the drone, sometimes an object in the film becomes a character. And the drone represents the TET, and all this has to present the face of the TET in many scenes. It has to make eye contact. It has to look evil.
We've also have a robotic eye. This is one of our robotic eyes that goes in the drone. There's a lens that goes in here. This moves in every direction, and it's backlit. And this is all done by remote control.
The drones really are a character in this movie, so it was important that they feel like real machines.
Give it some space. Come on, you're making it nervous.
That is one pissed-off weapon.
And that includes, every internal component as well.
So these are vector XYZ orientated thrusters. So if this thing is hovering steady in the air, it can adjust itself just by bursting a combination of thrusts. And that helps the audience to understand, oh, this is how that thing steers.
This is what's called the fuel cell compartment in the drone. We've created this bay where our fuel cell comes in here. This will all be lit up. These have the individual LEDs that are in here, and Tom can actually pick out a piece and work in here as well.
It was so intense discussions with the director, the production designer, how this hatch opens. It's just a simple hatch. Tom gonna reach inside and change the fuel cell, but to what angle should that open so it's easy for him to reach in, gonna look good on camera.
We're making different parts for Tom to interface with that can be removed, that can pop out. He can remove that. We're still detailing this out, but this is about part replacement. So basically, something will present itself, and he can take that part out and replace it with another part. Goes back in.
Jack is a drone repairman, so all the things that he has to do to interact with this drone, whether he's changing a fuel cell or an exhaust manifold or a lens and fixing it, it's all very tactile. There's a couple different incarnations of the drones. The exterior of the drones was done by Wild Factory, which is kind of the white look of the exterior. The interior of the drone, that was done by Doug Harlocker. He did that one with his shop, ISS in LA, and they did an unbelievable job.
This is the beginnings of our drone 109. Basically, we're calling it the Terminator drone. This stripped-down version that's in Jack's workshop, and it's his sort of pet project that he's just trying to get this thing going. It's been in the shop for a while.
What was sort of interesting for us to explore was to think that it's a dead drone when Tom is working on it. He's frustrated that he can't get it going. But in the end, it's really controlled by the TET. It's always been just a sleeper that Sally could activate.
Ready, and action!
Designing the drones was really fun to do. Joe always wanted to keep it very simple, but based on reality.
We would have another exhaust manifold.
When the drones are flying around, they had to feel like actual machines, and they do. I'm really proud of that.
Jack. An object came down in 1-7.
Got it. On my way.
60 years ago, Earth was attacked. We won the war, but they destroyed half the planet. Everyone's been evacuated. Nothing human remains. Our job is security and drone maintenance. We're the mop-up crew. Doesn't seem right. We won the war. Now we have to leave.
I was inspired by kind of a lot of science fiction films I saw as a kid from the 1970s and these kind of illustrated books that I had as a kid. They took place in these kind of daylight settings, and I hadn't seen a science fiction film in the daylight on Earth in a while, and I thought, you know, it'd be an interesting world to go back and explore. And when I saw images of Iceland, I instantly knew that that was the landscape of this movie, and seeing elements of our world poking up through the black sands of Iceland was a very haunting but beautiful landscape to tell this story.
And the Sky Tower has been designed by Darren Guilford. The set was built on stage in Baton Rouge. Claudia Miranda came up with the idea to put a front projection around it, a very large 21 projector front projection, and we helped him doing that by creating the footage that gets projected there.
I wanted Jack to be in a vehicle that would put the audience kind of in the seat next to him. It had to be something that had tremendous visibility and really showed the audience this world that he was exploring.
Well, the easiest description would be that's the most awesome movie vehicle ever. It's the work tool machine of Jack Harper. It's his daily machine to not only fly home, but also follow evil drones around and get them fixed. So it has some weapons on it for self-defense, also some comfort levels for him to be in it all day long.
And we, you know, spent 6 months, 9 months designing it and then another 6 months building it. And to have something like that full scale, I think gave it a reality in the film that's really important in movies like this. You have to believe that what you see on screen is really there.
This vehicle is so specific. There was so much to figure out, like mechanically. We had Tom Cruise come visit us, tell us about how a vehicle functions. He's a pilot, so he actually told us about all these things. Why does he sit on the left, for example? Most helicopters have the pilot on the right. Most chase movies, you feel that the driver or pilot's on the left, so that was one reason. The other one was we needed him to have a control that the co-pilot can take over. So there was, in the script, a romantic scene where Olga's character gets kind of frightened and they take over and they have this romantic moment. So a line in the script rules completely the design of something like that.
The drones are, you know, it's Jack's job to take care of the drones, but his relationship with the drones is very tenuous. You see this kind of wary attitude Jack has towards them.
The drone are the bad guys, and certainly drone 166 is Jack's nemesis. Having to create something that has character and that it's a heavy machine, it's a killing machine, it was definitely a challenge and certainly a lot of fun. One of the great things that's on the Blu-ray is you get to see behind the scenes of the visual effects and some of how these things were done.
As far as kind of behind the scenes, you'll see, you know, everything from the design of the film to the production of the soundtrack, the amount of people required to bring a movie like this to life. And for people who really want to learn about making film, I think it's a really interesting behind-the-scenes peek at it. To get an original story made today, in kind of the age of film we're in now, which is of, you know, big-budget sequels, I knew I needed a movie star at the center of this story. I also knew I needed an incredible actor, because there are so many different types of scenes in this film. This isn't just a straightforward action film. It's a love story, it's a drama, it's a mystery, it's a thriller. And with Tom, you get both. It was kind of a dream come true to have someone of his caliber interested in this story. And I think when people see the film, they'll see the role fits him like a glove. It's different than anything he's done before, but it seems, you know, he did such an incredible job in the film. It's really what makes the film work.
You're looking for the truth. That's where you'll find it.
You need to know what happened.
What aren't you telling me?
Who are you?
Jack, mission is ordering you to stand down.
I'm not gonna do that. This is the only way. I just want to get in that frame.
Get in the frame, man.
Get it in one,
We're rolling on hours of Iceland here.
I wanted Tom's character, Jack, to have multiple modes of transport, and a motorcycle made perfect sense. So we built a bike for him based on a modern motocross bike, but we modified it so it fit our world and our design. It could fit right in the back of the bubble ship. He'd be able to unfold it on his own.
The guys that designed it did a sensational job.
We wanted to give Tom this piece that looks beautiful.
It's nice. People are going to want this bike.
We're not giving him up. But he, as a rider, needs to be able to do anything on it.
It's not just the look of it. It had to be safe enough for me to travel at very high speeds.
It was fun riding a bike in the middle of nowhere. Across the beautiful landscape.
We just took the helicopter and for an hour just chased him. We got some incredible footage.
It's spectacular.
Tom's a great motorcyclist, so when you have an actor like that, you want to take advantage of it.
We've set up a ramp for him very similar to the distances of what he's done in past films.
Start with the helmet, guys.
He jumped the bike about 50 feet.
He's fearless. He never wants to hand something like that off to a stuntman. I mean, he has the skills to do that.
Just bring the bike and we'll start shooting.
Load them up, pictures up. All right, here we go. We're rolling.
Hey, on you, Tom, on you. Go, go, go.
I had a blast. Loved the bike.
For you building a character, especially on something like either To the Wonder or this, where there's so much that is suggested, what's the work that you do? How much of that is based on the script, and how much is just based on finding a way to give that inner life?
Actually, it's a combination. Of course, there are first the base of every movie is a script, and the script is very important. And well, to take then it's the director. After the script, and to take well, the difference between Oblivion and To the Wonder is very big one, because in To the Wonder there was no script. There was just Terrence Malick.
And you're out hunting for whatever it's worth.
But he told all the story. He told me so many fables and things about my character, about her backstory, everything. I was like a sponge. I bathed in it. So I became her, Marina, little by little, just by talking to him. But and it was a completely different way of preparing character. I had to read 3 big novels, Russian novels: Anna Karenina, Brother Karamazov, and Idiot. They're very very big Russian novels, and that's like 5 scripts together. So it's true that the base was quite strong, and then we discussed it all. And in Oblivion, we had the script, and I spoke to Joe a lot, and to Joe and Tom actually. We rehearsed lots of scenes. We spoke about them. We did script readings, which is, again, rehearsal is something very different. Inexistent in Malick's work. He would never rehearse. He's against that because it's all about instinct and spontaneity. So to prepare character, it depends what is required and who you're working with. Sometimes it's reading novels, books. Sometimes it's also working, talking to the director, because you're kind of finding it together. It's about communication and bringing ideas, building sometimes characters' backstory. Also, in the case of Julia, I watched just films on YouTube about astronauts and the training they go through, because I just needed to understand, how difficult it is, and it's extremely difficult when you. Okay, you're familiar. I can see.
I grew up in Florida, and those guys were the superheroes that you kind of looked up to.
So you know, and I saw videos, and you see like big, strong guys passing out.
Yeah.
They can't stand the test. And then I thought, okay, Julia. I mean, I play her. you know, I think she must be I thought that she must be extremely resistant and also physically strong and mentally strong to be able to be allowed to go to space, because if you don't pass that physical test, the pressure and spinning and all of that,
there's just no doing
there's
it.
no way, you don't go. So you understand, she's actually tough physically, but she is in the movie a romantic character. So I also had to say, she's not this badass action hero, actually. Well, I don't know if I'm uncovering too much, but it's
It's a very human story. Like, and that's the thing. I really buy the relationship, and I think if you don't, none of it works.
None of it
And you
works.
guys have a lovely rapport.
Thanks, but it's about love that basically. It teaches us a lot, and one of the subjects is love. That true, strong love never dies. Whether it's 70 years later, true love is always there, and it survives. Decades, maybe probably centuries. It lives beyond, and it lives in memories, and somewhere in space. I think it's energy. Love is energy that never dies.
Tom is a champion. Tom has such an incredible work ethic, and he loves as hard as he works, and he plays when he works, so that everybody around him, everyone is lucky enough to be around him, are surrounded by joy and enthusiasm for what they're going to do and excitement. And it's felt very natural working with him. With the Jack and Vicar, our whole relationship, Jack and Vicar, has been very natural and so much fun and rewarding and fulfilling and all of the things that I suppose it's supposed to be. And I really admire him. I really look up to him and have a great deal of respect for him. But really their relationship's professional in the sense that she's in a control tower and he's a pilot. And ultimately personal, but so detached, because everything that he goes through during the day, she has no idea of. She's not on the ground. He's in the trenches, and she's looking at a map. He is her only means of living. She can only live when he's back home. And every moment he's away from home, her heart's in her mouth, and she's terrified that he might come back. Not every single moment, because she trusts that he's a professional pilot and he's brilliant at his job. But he also knows that he has a taste for adventure, and sometimes veers off the beaten path. I read the latest draft of the script, and it was beautiful, really beautiful. Gripping and thrilling and frightening and terrifying, and made you address what it was to be human and the things that you hold dear to you.
I think I want an audience to enjoy it. I think that, with sci-fi is such a cool genre because we get to be able to bring to an audience a new world. And I think that when you look at the aesthetics in this film, it has very cool action, yet sci-fi also, great sci-fi, is a very personal story. So when you look at this story, it is a personal journey of this character, Jack Harper, at the beginning. He lives in a sky tower a mile above the surface of the Earth, and he flies down a cool bubble ship, but he's a blue-collar worker. He's a drone repairman who goes down to Earth every day, and in 2 weeks his tour is up, and he wants to, he doesn't want to leave the Earth. And so what follows are some pretty interesting twists all the way up into the final frame of the movie.
Morgan Freeman, who is obviously a big fan of yours since he worked with you, says that you're one of the most fit actors he's ever worked with, and I would like to know, what do you do to keep your time on? Seriously.
Seriously. You know what? I've just done everything that I've done. I mean, it depends on the film, what I'm training specifically for a character, and I've trained my whole life. It's all different kinds of stuff. It's not even. I train every day, but it's just different stuff. It's no specific regimen,
Tom, what are your similarities between you and your character?
I don't know. I think, I think a guy. I'm curious about life and the world. I think that, someone who I love the Earth. You know, I don't want to leave. You know, I love people. You know, and I think that we have that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you. How you been? Good to see you.
Good. Hey, looks like you're having some fun with the family.
I had a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So I hear you've been traveling a lot. What's it like for you to be back at home, back in LA?
You know, I love it. I love traveling the world and to be able to go with a film. You know, I mean, a movie like this, I'm very proud of it. It's a film that has amazing twists and turns until the final frame. It's visually, what an audience has never seen before, and it's cool to go to different places and experience films in different cultures, and you see, how these things travel and how universal the themes are.
There's so much buzz about the look and the vision of this film. Tell me about how you describe the world of Oblivion.
It's haunting. It's a haunting beauty. And we shot in Iceland. We shot in the mountains of California. We shot in New York City. And you look at some of the technique and what Joe has applied to this has never been done before. He went and photographed cloud formations atop a volcano for weeks. And then as opposed to using green screen, what he did is he edited that footage down. We had massive cameras on set and he projected them on massive screens around the set. So when the audience is seeing the Sky Tower, which is the place where my character lives at the beginning of the film, that's about a mile above the Earth's surface, those cloud formations are real, and that's what's lighting the set. And that's just one element to it. I mean, you look at the bubble ship that Joe designed. You got cool stuff for the guys with the motorcycles, the laser guns, and the story itself is this. It's really an edge of your seat thriller that deals with Earth 60 years in the future after an alien invasion, and my character Jack Harper I'm supposed to leave the planet in 2 weeks, and I'm just a blue-collar drone repairman who goes down to the surface every day and fixes those drones. I don't know why they're hiding that drone back in the corner there. I want that front and center. That thing is so cool.
And you get to work with Morgan Freeman.
Oh, Morgan's a legend. I love Morgan. He's an actor who, he's such a brilliant actor. I think he's a national treasure, really. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
What attracted you to the project?
Tom Cruise. Been years wanting to work with him. Big fan of his for many years. Seen him do some incredible work. And, just out of a sense of envy, I guess, wanted to share the screen with him.
And let's talk a little bit about the locations. Some of the exotic places that you've been in, Iceland specifically.
No, I didn't go to Iceland.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
It looked like I was on the same planet, but actually, we built that set in Baton Rouge. Yeah. When we come out of the thing there, and it looks exactly like the rest of Iceland, but I wasn't there.
So I guess then, how do you describe the visual landscape of the film and sort of Joseph's vision for the film?
Bleak. This has become a world without water. And it's interesting the way he conceptualized that. If you remember that the Empire State Building was probably still standing, but dirt was up to the observation tower.
Very cool. In general, what can audiences expect from the movie?
Excitement. Yeah. Stem to stern. It's a very exciting movie. Very clever, very well done. I think it's a see more than once movie, because I saw it the second time last night and it was better than the first time I saw it. So.
It's great, and it seems like there's a lot of action and a lot of fun toys, like these things behind you.
Some fun toys. It's a bubble ship.
Bubble ship is cool. All right, and what about just working with Joseph Kosinski as a director?
Great. Number one, for someone who has thought of all this, and written this wonderful script, to have to be so approachable in terms of her own ideas is amazing. Because normally, very often, someone who has done all this, they don't want to hear you because they've answered all the questions for themselves. He understands that he hadn't answered all the questions for you.
I just want to get in that frame.
Get in the frame, man.
Get
it in one,
We're
baby.
rolling on hours of Iceland here.
I wanted Tom's character, Jack, to have multiple modes of transport, and a motorcycle made perfect sense. So we built a bike for him based on a modern motocross bike, but we modified it so it fit our world and our design. It could fit right in the back of the bubble ship. He'd be able to unfold it on his own.
The guys that designed it did a sensational job.
We wanted to give Tom this piece that looks beautiful.
It's nice. People are going to want this bike.
We're not giving him up. But he, as a rider, needs to be able to do anything on it.
It's not just the look of it. It had to be safe enough for me to travel at very high speeds.
It was fun riding a bike in the middle of nowhere. Across the beautiful landscape.
We just took the helicopter and for an hour just chased him. We got some incredible footage.
It's spectacular.
Tom's a great motorcyclist, so when you have an actor like that, you want to take advantage of it.
We've set up a ramp for him very similar to the distances of what he's done in past films.
Start with the helmet, guys.
He jumped the bike about 50 feet.
He's fearless. He never wants to hand something like that off to a stuntman. I mean, he has the skills to do that.
Just bring the bike and we'll let it start shooting.
Load them up, pictures up. All right, here we go. We're rolling. Hey, on you, Tom, on you. Go, go, go.
I had a blast. Loved the bike.
Tom is a champion. Tom has such an incredible work ethic, and he loves as hard as he works, and he plays when he works, so that everybody around him, everyone is lucky enough to be around him, are surrounded by joy and enthusiasm for what they're going to do and excitement. And it's felt very natural working with him, with the Jack and Vicar. Our whole relationship, Jack and Vicar, has been very natural and so much fun and rewarding and fulfilling and all of the things that I suppose it's supposed to be. And I really admire him. I really look up to him and have a great deal of respect for him. But really their relationship's professional in the sense that she's in a control tower and he's a pilot. And ultimately personal, but so detached, because everything that he goes through during the day, she has no idea of. She's not on the ground. He's in the trenches, and she's looking at a map. He is her only means of living. She can only live when he's back home. And every moment he's away from home, her heart's in her mouth, and she's terrified that he might come back. Not every single moment, because she trusts that he's a professional pilot and he's brilliant at his job. But he also knows that he has a taste for adventure, and sometimes veers off the beaten path. I read the latest draft of the script, and it was beautiful, really beautiful. Gripping and thrilling and frightening and terrifying, and made you address what it was to be human and the things that you hold dear to you.
For you building a character, especially on something like either To the Wonder or this, where there's so much that is suggested. What's the work that you do? How much of that is based on the script, and how much is just based on finding a way to give that inner life?
Actually, it's a combination. Of course, there are first the base of every movie is a script, and the script is very important. And well, to take then it's the director. After the script, and to take well, the difference between Oblivion and To the Wonder is very big one, because in To the Wonder there was no script. There was just Terrence Malick.
And you're out hunting for whatever it's worth.
But he told all the story. He told me so many fables and things about my character, about her backstory, everything. I was like a sponge. I bathed in it. So I became her, Marina, little by little, just by talking to him. But and it was well, it was a completely different way of preparing character. I had to read three big novels, Russian novels: Anna Karenina, Brother Karamazov, and Idiot. They're very very big Russian novels, and that's like 5 scripts together. So it's true that the base was quite strong, and then we discussed it all. And in Oblivion, we had the script, and I spoke to Joe a lot, and to Joe and Tom actually. We rehearsed lots of scenes. We spoke about them. We did script readings, which is, again, rehearsal is something very different. Inexistent in Malick's work. He would never rehearse. He's against that because it's all about instinct and spontaneity. So to prepare character, it depends what is required and who you're working with. Sometimes it's reading novels, books. Sometimes it's also working, talking to the director, because you're kind of finding it together. It's about communication and bringing ideas, building sometimes characters' backstory. Also, in the case of Julia, I watched just films on YouTube about astronauts and the training they go through, because I just needed to understand, how difficult it is, and it's extremely difficult when you. Okay, you're familiar. I
grew up in Florida, and those guys were the superheroes that you kind of looked up to.
So you know, and I saw videos, and you see like big, strong guys passing out.
Yeah.
They can't stand the test. And then I thought, okay, Julia. I mean, I play her. I think she must be. I thought that she must be extremely resistant and also physically strong and mentally strong to be able to be allowed to go to space, because if you don't pass at that physical test, the pressure and spinning and all of that,
there's just no doing
there's
it.
No way, you don't go. So you understand, she's actually tough physically, but she is in the movie a romantic character. So I also had to stay, she's not this badass action hero, actually. Well, I don't know if I'm uncovering too much, but it's
It's a very human story. Like, and that's the thing. I really buy the relationship, and I think if you don't, none of it works.
None of it works.
And you guys have a lovely rapport.
Thanks, but it's about love that basically. It teaches us a lot, and one of the subjects is love. That true, strong love never dies. Whether it's 70 years later. True love is always there, and it survives, decades, maybe probably centuries. It lives beyond, and it lives in memories, and somewhere in space, I think it's energy. Love is energy that never dies.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Rebecca Keegan from the Los Angeles Times, and I am delighted to be here for this special Oblivion event, which is being brought to you by Universal Pictures, IMAX, and LA Times Hero Complex. This movie and this Q&A is being broadcast out to IMAX theaters across the U.S. 9 other theaters saw it, like you guys here in New York. And the Q&A is going out over the internet as well. We're going to take a few questions and then go to Twitter to take questions that people are sending in. If you want to participate, send your question to #Oblivion. And won't you please help me give a nice warm welcome to the director of Oblivion, Joseph Kosinski. And without without any further ado, the star of Oblivion, Tom Cruise.
Off the back. Sorry, I gotta get the stage, man. The rest of me. Sorry, man. Gotta do a stunt over this rail. Hi, how are you?
Hi, you do so many
Hi,
stunts
everybody.
for your own movies. We thought we'd have you do one
Thank
here.
You. It's good. How are y'all? Good evening. Hello. How you doing? Nice to see you. Hello.
Well, welcome, both of you.
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you.
This movie is something kind of unusual in Hollywood today. It's not a sequel or a prequel or a remake. It's a totally original idea. Tom, tell us what made you want to make it?
Him, Joe Kosinski. I think he's, he's a guy who's a world creator, a true visionary. And what I mean by that is you just look at the example. I mean, when I went and I saw in post some stuff on Tron, and he shared with me the story that this next film. And I think when the audience sees the story, it just has amazing twists all the way up until the final frame. And then he took me through the world that he was going to create. Just as an example, when you saw the Sky Tower, I know audiences are so used to green screen today, but when you see the opening, you see the Sky Tower, one of the things Joe wanted to do, and he did in this film, is he said, look, what I want is, I want real clouds and real sunrises and sunset to immerse the audience into the Sky Tower. It's a mile above the Earth's surface, and really immerse them in this world. And so he took cameras into Hawaii and put them atop a volcano and photographed cloud formations, sunrises and sunsets, the stars. And then on the set that we built in Baton Rouge, he designed the set and we built it on a massive sound stage. And the screens were, as tall as this IMAX screen, and he actually projected the images onto those screens. So it wasn't CGI, it wasn't green screen. So the kind of reflections and the kind of world that he can create with that, and the emotion, it has a, he wanted a haunting beauty, a very unique aesthetic for the film. And I think that world that he created, these characters that he created, is something that I wanted to be part of.
Joe, when Tom attached himself to this film, you didn't yet have a studio, you didn't yet have a script. It was very bold.
You had nothing?
Don't tell Tom that.
Really?
Yeah.
You were pumped.
That's not what he told me. He's like, look, they're lining up.
It's all greenlit already, Tom. Just sign right here. Yeah.
So once you knew that this was going to be your leading man, how did that shape how the script developed in the story?
Well, I was in a kind of unique position to be writing the first draft of the script, knowing that Tom had a really strong interest in the story. So
I was in, man.
He was in. He said he was in. I wasn't completely sure.
I told you when I say I'm in.
Yeah, that's right. I knew, I just knew, having Tom in the lead role, I knew I could kind of shape the character to fit him. But to be honest with you, I felt like Tom already kind of suited the character of Jack Harper so well the way I envisioned him. So it wasn't much of a retooling. If anything, I just knew everything I wanted Jack Harper to do in this movie, Tom was going to be able to do it, and do it in camera and do it spectacularly. And I was just really thrilled to have such an incredible actor at the center of this film, because of all the different types of scenes the film has. It's a big action film, big action adventure film, but it's got mystery, it's got thrills, it's got romance, it's got a little bit of everything. And to have an actor of his caliber at the center of this film, for me, was huge.
Without spoiling anything for the folks watching online who haven't seen it, there's a fight scene in this movie that is really extraordinary and unusual. I don't know, Tom, if you can tell us anything about it.
Thank you. I can tell you I've never done a fight like it, and I never will in the rest of my career. I don't know if you can't,
Your opponent was brutal.
You don't ever, yeah, he was tough. You don't ever get to do that again. I mean, when he was telling me this story and we're going through it, I think the incredible thing about this movie is that for an audience, even the second time watching it is going to be so rewarding for them. Like you need a 2 pass on this film, and I think that's there's so many wonderful moments like that in the film. I couldn't wait to do it. It was very challenging to figure out how we're going to do that, and without
killing you.
Yeah, without killing me.
Well done. We've
Thank you so much.
started getting some of the questions in on Twitter. I have a few of them here, so let me turn to them. This is a question from someone named @bmike3030, who asks, did you make this movie as a standalone or with sequel possibilities?
Joe?
Well, I think we've created a world here. There's a story that occurred before the film starts, and I think there is a very interesting story after the film ends. So certainly there's potential and possibility there. So maybe.
So you're open to it?
Open to the idea.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've been saying to him, look, the aesthetic that Joe has is so unique. I think when you see the film, you guys did see the film, you'll see, what he created it'd be fun to play if we, come up with a different story.
This comes from Twitter. The name of the guy is @DannyNoodles. Gotta love that.
I know
Is
him.
that me? Is that me?
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, what inspired the unique look of the post-apocalyptic world in Oblivion?
That's Joe Kosinski. You look at it, he had that vision, when I was looking at his early designs, and he wanted the location of Iceland right from the beginning. New York City, the mountains in New York. The trick was finding Crater Lake was very challenging, finding that location, something that is so picturesque and inviting. But the design of, you look at the wardrobe, the drones, the house, the bubble ship, all of that design was stuff that Joe came with early on. And it was pretty exciting, because we built the bubble ship, and some of the greatest car designers in the world actually came together to build this. So when the day that it showed up on set, we'd been waiting a long time, and Joe and I think we were like little kids getting in that bubble ship, feeling, this thing was like a fine piece of jewelry put together. I mean, I want to get those engines, and I want that bubble ship.
I'm sure we can arrange that.
I know. I want the bubble. They gave me the motorcycle as a gift, which I'm very grateful. But that bubble ship is really something.
I want the house.
Yeah, the house is cool. What about the pool?
Yeah.
Who wants that pool? I'm waiting for where does that pool show up?
This is a question that comes from someone in Virginia Beach. Jared Flom 3 via Twitter asks, compared to other movies you starred in, hey, there they are, pretty sneaky, huh?
Good.
How much did you enjoy acting and being in Oblivion?
I loved it. I love the world, the adventure of the film, the story, because it's a very, it's a great sci-fi is a new world, and yet it's a very personal journey. And yet you also have this kind of Rod Sterling twists, that I enjoy. And so the film, it has so many different levels to it if you want to enjoy it just as a pure adventure action movie, but when you start looking at it, there's so many different layers to it. And the character is, playing Jack Harper, he's really just a blue-collar worker, a drone repairman, yet he gets to fly a cool bubble ship down to Earth every day. And having the kind of discussions on a film of this nature that I had with Joe, it was just a very cool character and cool world to be in. Plus, I have laser guns, and everyone likes a little laser gun every now and then.
This comes from someone in San Diego. Bakalakadaka via Twitter asks, Tom, how did you prepare for this role?
What I did was I just spent a lot of time with Joe going over what it is he intended, looking at the world, discussing the story and the character. Obviously, for every film, you have to train, and if you're changing your physical silhouette for something. So there was, there's just the usual kind of training just to make it through a film of this nature. And, and then to train for the stunt fight. It was interesting with the stunt fight that we had, and I don't want to give anything away, but we shot it in a very hot environment. And that was surprisingly challenging because the suit itself was it was like a sauna, and it's a sauna, it just retains heat. So, and when we do one take of the fight, we are worried about high levels of dehydration and go into, kind of shock. So when we were doing the fight, after every single take, they would come and unzip us, and I had massive amounts of ice packs that would come in to try to bring our body temperatures down in between the takes.
One thing I wondered about preparation of the characters is you put a lot of effort into showing what this guy liked about Earth, the Yankee cap, the Zeppelin albums. Where did those little details come from?
It was just try to think about, what things you'd collect, in this world. This is a guy who's in love with a time that exists before he was born. So he's on the surface and finding these trinkets, and there's certain things he finds that have a special connection, but he doesn't know why he's attached to them. So that's some part of the fun of this story, is you see what Jack has collected, but you don't quite understand, and he doesn't understand why he's chosen these specific elements until later in the film. So it's, you know, it's a mystery that...
I don't think so.
Good.
It's a mystery that, you know, as Jack's trying to figure it out, the audience is kind of going along with him.
I feel like it's no accident that he's a Yankee fan, Tom.
I know.
Did you have a hand in that?
Well, he said Yankee, or did I say?
Well,
Yankee?
I could have brought up Mets, but I didn't want to. It had to be one or the other.
Yeah.
I didn't want reactions like that.
Yeah.
Forget New York. Here's a question from Denver. This is Kung Fu Danda 1 via Twitter, who says,
Dig it.
Tom,
Dig Kung Fu Danda.
was the whole movie filmed live on locations, or was a green screen used for filming any scenes?
You know, a very small amount of green screen was used on this film. Most of it was live in Iceland, and if you have a chance to go there, I greatly hope you jump on that opportunity. A stunning place to make a film and a great place to go. And that kind of terrain, it was mostly practical. The action was all practical. Of course, some of the moments, you know, were green screen at the end, but surprisingly not a lot. As I said, when you look at the Sky Tower, that's all, you know, he edited that footage down and projected on those screens. It was the most beautiful set I've ever been on. You know, the most peaceful set to be on. Sometimes, if we did have a break, we'd throw up a sunset or something, and everyone would kind of hang out and watch the sunset. Chill out and watch the sunset.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
And when you were in Iceland, were you there during the summer? So it was.
It was 24 hours. We were there. It was light 24 hours, so we got long shooting days, and then
we never stopped.
We never stopped
Yeah.
shooting, and then I'd go on adventures when we finished shooting for the day.
Magic hour all the time there, I guess.
It was beautiful.
This one comes from Dallas. Candace Havens via Twitter asks, it seems like this was a very collaborative effort with the actors and director. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't collaborate with your actors. They are telling your story for you. So it's so important that the director and the actors are all on the same page. And so we tried to, you know, with a lot of rehearsal, figure out everything ahead of time, you know. Of course, always leaving room for those moments when you're shooting where something special happens, you know. But yeah, you know, why would I not collaborate with an actor who's made as many incredible films as Tom has? This is my second film. I think we were counting.
Amazing, it's his second film.
Backstage, you've been in, I don't know, over 40 now. So yeah, I learned a lot from Tom. Tom's worked with so many of my cinematic heroes, you know, from Stanley Kubrick to Ridley Scott, Michael Mann, Sidney Pollack, Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese. I mean, it's kind of insane, the list of directors he's worked with. So for me, I was always kind of asking him, you know, stories from the different movies, just bugging him, you know, like, you know, tell me a story about working with Newman or something like that. So it was just amazing for me to kind of learn, you know, through him on this movie.
And Morgan Freeman, I imagine, was a real presence on the set. What was it like to work with him?
It was awesome. I mean, everyone was very excited when the day he came in. I'd followed Morgan since Street Smart, his first film, and then he and I met each other at the Oscars. Actually, we were both nominated one year, and I just went up to him. I so admire him as an actor, and I've always wanted to work with him. And he and I were talking about it, and then, you know, right from the beginning, Joe and I were like, there's only one person that can play this character, and that's Morgan. I mean, with that kind of reveal and what you're talking about, to have that kind of power as an actor, that voice, he's just so talented. So when he said that he'd do it, we were very excited.
I realized I just stole that follow-up from NHL Rocks 48 via Twitter, who asked, what was it like directing Tom Cruise and Morgan Freeman? So thank you, NHL Rocks 48.
So what was it like directing this,
Well, it was amazing. I tried to just kind of stay out of the way, you know. It's like when you've got those two actors on screen together, you know, just try not to screw anything up and let them do their thing. And those are some of my favorite scenes in the film, watching Tom and Morgan together.
Yeah, there's a, you know, as you see, there's such a dynamic, and you really have to, as actors, have to talk through with Joe what story points, because so much of it is in behavior. And when you look at it,
you know, if the audience has a chance to see the film again, when you look at Olga Kurylenko, the mystery woman that comes in, the kind of, you know, in the way that Joe cut the film, it's cut, you know, so that when you see it a second time, you start to really recognize more and more layers of the performances, because there's Olga, who has an incredible presence and has a real power and dignity, and you know, and you see the subtlety of performance. It's really a delicate balance. And also Morgan, you know, when you look at how our characters deal with each other at the beginning, and also Andrea Riseborough, like the different turns that these characters make. You know, upon viewing it many times, people are going to, I think, even appreciate more what he's done in terms of crafting a story with that kind of character layer inside.
It's also nice to know that in the future, everyone's so beautiful. If the world ends, at least
well, when you
everybody-
have Joe Kosinski shooting you,
Yeah.
you know, you have, you know.
This question comes from Melody SGH via Twitter, who says, huge Tom Cruise fan. Tom, what made you decide to act in Oblivion?
It was just a great character, and I'm always looking for something that's different, that I think will be entertaining for an audience. You know, I want to make really high quality films for an audience and entertaining, and give them things that maybe they wouldn't have seen before, and also find a challenge for me. And when I look at Joe Kosinski, it's hard to believe it's only his second film. When you see the excitement this film has, I mean, when you look at the action from the bubble ship, even the suspense in the library sequences, and the suspense that the overall tone of the film has, and yet this kind of very interesting story and personal story weaving in, it's just, I said I've never seen anything like it before. And I learn a lot, you know, when you see a filmmaker, you know, like Joe come on and his ideas, and it was so ambitious. When you talk about M83 for the score, you know, they've never done a feature film score before, and that level that he's just constantly setting the bar. When you look at the world that he's creating, when you look at the story that he wants to tell and how he wants to tell it, what I loved is even in talking with Joe, he doesn't know enough to know how ambitious the film is. You know what I mean? He was like, I want M83. I was like, I love M83. All right, let's do it, you know? And then, you know, here he is working with them, composing this beautiful score. And you go, you know, you're going to get something interesting, and something that will be, you know, it's high quality and entertaining for an audience, and yet very interesting artistically.
Well, that leads nicely to our next question from Jam Van via Twitter, who asks, what music makes you think Oblivion?
What do you mean?
Well, I guess now it's the score. But Joe, can you talk a little bit about...
I listened to, I mean, the truth is I was listening to M83 when I wrote this original story 8 years ago, one of his early albums. So he's so connected to this story. It was a thrill to be able to get him to do the score for the movie. I was also listening to bands like Boards of Canada, Ulrich Schnauz, the scores of like Bernard Herrmann. The score to Vertigo for me was a really inspiring one. So those are the kind of things I was listening to while I was kind of formulating the story. Well, Led Zeppelin as well.
Throw in a little Led Zeppelin in there.
This question comes from Bex Adores Tom, who says, hi Tom, my name is Becky. I'm a massive fan.
Becky.
My question is, what was the best thing about doing this movie?
Gosh, the best thing. You know, for me, being on a movie set, I just love it. It's something that I've wanted to do since I was a kid, 4 years old. I remember the moment I was like, God, if I could make movies. And when you're making a film like this, where you just know it's inventive, and working with Joe every day, someone, as I said, it's hard to believe it's his second film, how specific he is, how calm he is to work with, the actors that we had. I mean, you know, every day, Andrea Riseborough, you know, what she brings to that character, I don't know if you've seen any of her other work, but just such a talented actress. And then Olga Kurylenko, to see what she created with that character, which had such a, I think, a quiet strength. And then you got Morgan Freeman coming in and just delivering, you know, just powerhouses. It's something that every day there was something new and exciting that we were working on, and the sets were beautiful. Every day you went from one beautiful, interesting set to the next, so it was never, you know, it was never boring, was it, Joe?
No. We stayed on the move. Yeah.
Stayed on the move.
This question comes from Hannah H. Lilly, who asks, what makes Oblivion such a unique sci-fi film?
Well, I think, you know, it's an earthbound sci-fi. I think when you look at visually how it's classic in its nature and original,
the stories, great sci-fi takes an audience to a different place, but a place that they also, as where as human beings recognize people within it, and that's what I think. I mean, I haven't. When you look at Minority Report and this are kind of the two. They're different, but they're Minority Report being a thriller and this one being a thriller versus, I guess War of the Worlds. But this is in that same kind of vein where there's also, when you see a sci-fi movie, I love looking at the technology. And in Minority Report, that's where the iPad came from.
Mm-hmm.
Really was inspired, Steve Jobs was inspired by that. So I hope that someone will be inspired by the swimming pool if you're watching. And also by Please the Bubble Ship, feel free to build that. I appreciate it. I know when he did Tron, people were, building the light cycles and stuff. So please feel free. I will test fly it for you,
Sci-fi does seem like a genre where you're really comfortable. I was just reading on my way here that you're attached to Doug Liman's new film, which also has a bit of a sci-fi.
Yeah, we shot it. We shot it already. The All You Need Is Kill is a title right now, but it's a totally different kind of sci-fi than this. But sci-fi today is like the Western was, I think, because the Westerns came out and it could transport an audience to a different time, but tell, socio-political stories, human stories, but you can also send an audience to a place that they wouldn't necessarily see. Today with sci-fi, and sci-fi has always been a very popular genre, but now with cinema, you can create a world. And so using visual effects, but also, as with this film, it's mostly practical in camera.
This question comes from Jolene Whippoff, who says, Tom, what is your secret? You look exactly the same as you did when you made Top Gun. I think a lot of us would like to know, and where can we get it?
Jolene, thank you very much. I have no idea. I really don't know. Maybe it's because I get to, for me, making movies is not work. It's a joy. I love telling stories and being part of it, and it's something that I've never taken for granted. And I don't know. I think that's it. It can't be the sleepless nights and the 48 hours working in a row. Maybe that is it. I don't know, but I just have a real joy in what I'm doing.
Darn, they don't sell that at Bloomingdale's.
I don't know.
So.
I don't know what else.
This comes from mgeorge51h, who asks, what was the toughest Oblivion stunt?
The most painful one was when, is this giving it away? Like where I flip over onto the table. Where there's a shot where I flip over on the table, and I think when you see the film, my neck bends in a very unusual way.
For the Blu-ray, when people get the Blu-ray, they can actually freeze frame, and they'll see his neck bending at a angle that seems like it should have broken.
Yeah.
It scared us all a little bit when we were watching on the monitor, but he jumped up and gave us a thumbs up, so.
We kept going, but I remember seeing your face, like, are you okay? Are you dead? Are you, please? That was fun. Riding the motorcycle was, Olga, Olga came in, she says, I know how to ride motorcycles. So I was like, oh, great, she knows how to ride motorcycles. Cool, she's gonna feel really confident on it. So then we go into Iceland, and I'm going across these plains of Iceland and I'm going very fast because we have a camera helicopter following. And, you're doing little jumps and stuff like that. And the thing, all you have to do on the back of a motorcycle, particularly that kind, is you just have to hold on. So I said, please, Olga, all you have to do is just really hold on. And if you feel the bike is a little, just don't worry, I'll get us out of it, and we'll be hitting. So we're riding along, and she goes, go slow. I was like, okay, well, yeah,
And I'm saying go faster.
He's saying go faster, so I'm like, I'll go as slow as I can. I'm going about 70 miles an hour across, And I'm thinking she's gonna be holding on even tighter. I hit the bump, and her hands come off of my waist and grab the wheel, and we're almost in midair, and the thing's like this, and the bike is, and I'm trying to hit the throttle and straighten the bike out, and it scared me to death. I thought I was like, as we're going, still, I can't just stop the bike, so I'm going to say, Olga, please just hold on to. All you got to do is hold on to me. She goes, no, okay, as she's holding the wheel. I said, no, like hold on to me now, like right now. She said, okay. So she holds on to me. And then I hit another bump, and her hands are coming out. So I'm flying along on this motorcycle. I have this helicopter with a camera, and Joe's there, and I'm constantly hitting her hands to try to get them around. So I'm hoping that in the shots that it doesn't look like I'm doing this the whole time,
And she's saying, I can't help it. I don't mean to do it. I'm trying to stop myself. I'm trying to stop myself. That was terrifying. Okay, you don't know how terrifying that was. I was scared shitless. Can I say it? This isn't television, is it?
No.
Internet.
You can swear on the internet.
Yes.
I can swear on the internet. I was scared shitless. Okay?
This question comes from Rachel, who asks, how did you decide on Earth's landscape?
Well, you know, I wanted to make a film that was, I wanted the landscape to be desolate but beautiful. And I came upon a landscape photography book of Iceland. And when I saw some of these images of the Icelandic landscape, it looked like nothing else I had seen before. The black sand, the blue skies, the kind of moss clinging on the hills, no trees, which is very unique. And I thought it would be the perfect setting to kind of put in these monuments of our world, kind of sticking up through the sand. So it was always the dream to go and shoot in Iceland, and you know, feel very lucky to have had the opportunity.
This is pretty much it via Twitter, who asks, Tom, what's your favorite sci-fi film excluding your own?
Oh man, come on. Oblivion.
Excluding your own.
My own Minority Report.
Okay.
War of the Worlds, Vanilla Skies. You know, to just say one, I think would not be fair because there's so many. You know, when you look at, I think you know, Star Wars. You look at 2001. You look at, you know, Ridley's films that he's done. Alien is a picture that you could just watch over and over again. You know, you look at what he created, the movie he did with Harrison Ford.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. I think there's I think there's a great ton of them. You know, I'm someone, I watch a lot of movies all the time. I mean, when we're working on the script, one of the cool things, I've got a screening room with like thousands and thousands and thousands of films. So, you know, sometimes I'll watch a scene out of a movie the way someone will just pull up a track of music and listen to it. So we'll go through it and we'll just watch different scenes.
It's a great diversion in a meeting, too, where you just stop and watch Mad Max for 2 hours.
Yeah,
and
exactly. You go back.
What is your home screening room like? It must be pretty cool.
It's awesome. I want to live in the screening room. I pretty much do. You know, I mean, that was a dream for me, having that one.
We talked about this a little bit, but Rohan MM asks, question for Tom, what attracts him to sci-fi over perhaps other genres he's not yet touched?
You know, as a film lover, I mean, I'm really just kind of a cinephile, and I love all kinds of movies. And I remember, you know, when I start into any different genre, whether it's comedy, drama, suspense, I kind of dive in and try to understand what works, what communicates best. So I think that's why I've done such a wide range of, you know, I tried my hand at a musical, tried different kinds of adventures, spy thriller genres I love, and sci-fi is just, you know, there's so many different stories. You can take that kind of genre and create, you know, thriller or action, all the different kinds of things within it, and drama, and comedy. So, you know, they're all different kinds, and I love them.
Ben Ubius via Twitter asks, Tom, aside from being a real-life hero, are there any hopes you'll play a superhero role for Marvel or DC in the future?
Well, you know, I haven't ever read one for myself that I thought this is what I want to do. But that's not saying no. If there's no planning in the future, but I dig those movies.
What would the character have to be like to interest you?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know, you know, it'd have to have some fun human elements to it, and have cool superpowers. And you want to fly, of course.
Obviously.
You know, you want to be able to fly. I'm a pilot, so I want to fly, right, Joe?
Of course.
What else do you think? Like maybe force field. Force fields are cool, you know.
Doesn't need sleep.
Doesn't need sleep.
Right.
People are tossing out ideas.
Good, we get ideas here tonight.
We'll pass
Good.
those along to Tom's agent. Thank you very much. Listen, thank you both so much for being here. Thank you
Thank you all for being here and watching. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Lovely meeting you. Thanks again.
Okay, gang.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll try.
Я хотел спросить, и Том, и Ольга уже не раз были в России на премьерах их фильмов. Хотел спросить, что, на их взгляд, особенного в российской аудитории и чем московская публика отличается от публики других стран мира, где они бывали?
Здравствуйте. Ну, для меня всегда приятно возвращаться в Москву, потому что все-таки это страна, где люди говорят на моем родном языке. И я здесь много времени провела, начала еще давно тогда свою модельную карьеру, поэтому у меня здесь есть пару друзей, поэтому немного, для меня это как будто бы немножко возвращение на родину.
For me, it's always amazing to be here. Growing up in places where I lived in America and Canada. Is it being translated as I'm speaking? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, I always had a dream of being able to make films and to be able to travel. So I remember coming, I think it was in 88 or 89, when I had the first opportunity to come to Russia, to be in Moscow at that time. And I was always, you know, pushing the studios to say, look, I want to travel, I want to make films in different countries with different actors and crews. It's one of the reasons that I started to produce films, because I love movies, but I also wanted to create stories that would allow a multicultural experience. So for me, it's a tremendous privilege to be here, and every time it's very special, very special. So thank you very much. I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you for having me.
Еще я хотел спросить у господина Круза, если бы он был продюсером российско-американского фильма, какую тему он бы выбрал для этой картины?
Well, I don't know. I think I try to find what you know, the audience, what's the most entertaining. I mean, as a filmmaker, as an actor, I consider myself very much a student of film and cinema storytelling. And I have a wide range of taste as an audience, so I think that is very much reflective in my work, whether it's comedy, drama, adventure, action, science fiction. So I really depend on the artist.
Спасибо. Ваши вопросы, пожалуйста.
В первую очередь, спасибо вам за фильм, мне очень понравилось, ребята, вы лучшие. Я уверен, что если бы Стэнли Кубрик снимал «Звездные войны», результат выглядел бы как раз как «Oblivion». Мой вопрос следующий. Какие фильмы вас заставлял смотреть Джозеф Косинский при подготовке к картине, и какие фильмы вы сами держали в голове во время съемок?
You know, thank you very much for that. I've always loved science fiction as a genre, and if I may, when we look at science fiction today in cinema, it allows someone like Joe Kosinski, it's kind of amazing, it's only his second movie. He's a visionary filmmaker. I met him when he was in post-production on Tron. And I just heard about Joseph Kosinski, so I called him and he showed me some of the movie. And then he showed me the graphic novel that he was working on, and he had this story, Oblivion. But today, science fiction has allowed filmmakers to be able to create worlds. And when you look at cinema, much like, you look at the Westerns. Westerns in the 50s, 40s, 50s, it allowed, like the great filmmakers of Wyler or John Ford to be able to give an audience an epic experience, but also have these wonderful stories, human stories interwoven, but take an audience to a different place. And with science fiction today and what we can do with cinema, we can create these worlds for audiences and have unique stories. And science fiction, what Kubrick did for science fiction, at that time when we were all watching the space program, yours and ours, we were seeing space in black and white. And prior to that, you had kind of these serials, cinematic serials, where you go like Buck Rogers was quite big before that. And then came Kubrick, where for the first time, world audiences were seeing space in color. And then the genre, the next kind of big step, I think, because Spielberg does not consider Close Encounters or E.T. to be science fiction. He feels that his first science fiction film was the one that we did together, Minority Report. But then you look at how, when Ridley Scott, what he did with Alien and Blade Runner, those kind of took a visual leap and story leaps at that point. And now today we use, we're able with science fiction to, as I said, create these magnificent worlds. But Joseph Kosinski, he and I, we spoke a lot about different kinds of stories and different kinds of techniques. When an audience is watching this film, what they have to understand about Joe Kosinski is he is a visionary filmmaker. And what I mean by that is he's using a camera called an f/65 for us kind of cinephiles. We know what that is. But he sat down and he told me how he wanted to make this film. And when you see the Sky Tower, that set was built in Baton Rouge. But what he did was, as opposed to green screen, what he did was he went for weeks and had cameras atop a volcano in Hawaii to film cloud formations and sunrises and sunsets. Then when we shot it, he took those
cloud formations, the film that he had, and he edited it down. And then on the set, we had massive screens all around, bigger, higher than these walls and ceiling. And then he would project the cloud formations onto these screens. So what happens is when you're seeing the sky tower, the reflections, it's telling a story. It has an intimacy for the characters in the world that he's trying to engage the audience. And that's how it was lit. So we use that as natural lighting as opposed to using green screen and then lighting internally and then trying to figure out later. That's just one aspect, and that's something that has never been done before. Actually, when we were doing it, I remember, while we were prepping it, we were all hoping that it was going to work, and it allows the audience to enter a world. The film itself has a haunting beauty. We went and the studio, agreed that we could shoot in Iceland or in California, where Crater Lake takes place, and have the film feel textural for the audience, and it has this visual beauty that really takes you into the world. And Joe Kosinski has an amazing aesthetic. I mean, the story was his, the world he created was very much his from top to bottom. So, it wasn't like we assigned each other movies, we just knew the movies, quite intimately.
В этом фильме очень много спецэффектов, очень много сцен с трюками, многие из которых вы выполняете сами. Вот что из этих трюков было для вас сложнее всего, и что вам интереснее было, в каких сценах интереснее сниматься, с трюками или в драматических сценах? Спасибо.
Well, I like all of it. I enjoy every aspect of it. I mean, I know for when Olga and I, in the bubble ship, we were trying to create something where we could have G-force. Do you know what I mean? Where when you're seeing it, that it's in camera with the seat belts going and we're being pressed back into our seats. So the first thing he did is he actually built a bubble ship. It was a beautiful prop that we had. But then we had to work in the stunt as it's spinning around. Like a washing machine, you're just getting thrown around in ways that we feel the G-force. And it was a very sophisticated piece of machinery. And Olga was her first time being in something like that. It was quite violent, but a little challenging. So I enjoyed that. And
I don't enjoy roller coasters.
She doesn't like roller coasters. And we had a lot of filming inside that bubble ship, but you did great.
How about the bike?
Yeah, motorcycle. Listen, to be able to ride a motorcycle through Iceland, I've always wanted to go to Iceland. And we were there when it was light 24 hours a day. So I would shoot all day, and then it was light, so I couldn't sleep. So I would go, we went to climbing volcanoes and whitewater rafting and scuba diving all night, and then I'd go to work riding a motorcycle. But if I may say a story, Olga...
Thank God he didn't tell me that on the show.
When we were riding on the motorcycle, Olga rides a motorcycle. So the first time Olga says, no, I know how to ride a motorcycle. I said, listen, this motorcycle was specifically built for this film. And, I ride motorcycles, I ride dirt and all that stuff. And so I said, listen, the important thing, all you got to do is please hold on tight to this motorcycle, because it's a tricky bike to ride. And I said, no matter what happens, please just hold on, because with a bike like that, if it gets out of sorts, you have to accelerate. And we needed speed because we have helicopters following us through Iceland. But the thing with Olga is that every time I hit a bump, her hands would come flying off my body and grab the steering wheel.
Is that like to control?
Yeah, so she was grabbing the steering wheel, and I'm going 60 miles an hour. And I'm holding on, I'm saying, no, please, Olga, please don't grab the steering wheel. This is very dangerous, you can kill us,
I was trying to help you.
I know, but she said she can't help it. So as we're riding, I kept saying, please hold on tight. So then I found myself having to drive the motorcycle and hold my elbows in and slapping her hand away from crashing the motorcycle.
It was lots of fun.
Я хотел бы задать вопрос Ольге. Ольга, в Голливуде сложился стереотип, что русские актеры играют только плохих и в конце фильма их убивают. Вы сыграли замечательную не просто русскую девушку, а жену Тома Круза. Означает ли ваш успех сломку стереотипа и открытие дверей для русских актеров не только в ролях бандитов и алкоголиков русских?
Кстати, очень было бы интересно сыграть бандита. Я еще не играла. Но если с этой ролью сломается стереотип, я буду только очень рада.
We did that mission also, you know, with Meshkov. And yeah, no, he was a good guy. What are you talking? Not in Mission Impossible.
Кстати, я хотела добавить про насчет прежнего вопроса. Спросили, какие фильмы пересматривали. Я вот пересмотрела даже несколько раз «Солярис» Тарковского, потому что я подумала, что фильм очень подходил по теме. Во-первых, мой персонаж, она космонавт, она в космос полетела, и плюс там очень хорошо разбирается тема памяти. И в нашем фильме как раз эта тема затрагивается.
Добрый день. He's saying that Mashkov was killed in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol unless they re-edited the film. We're friends at the end of the
Добрый день, в третий раз. Мой вопрос Тому Крузу. Во-первых, позвольте вас поздравить с недавним вашим юбилеем. Лучше поздно, чем никогда. И исходя из этого, в общем, вопрос в продолжении, наверное, того, который прозвучал с того конца зала. Вы делаете большинство ваших трюков сами. Как вам удается поддерживать форму ваших ребят? Потому что в Голливуде достаточно немного актеров. Да. Сколько времени вы проводите в спортзале для того, чтобы так хорошо выглядеть?
You know, I've trained my whole life, and being an actor and producing films, they're very long hours, and a lot of times my schedule, I'm working on one movie, and I'm shooting during the day, and then I'll be working on post-production or pre-production on another. So, and it's something that, you know, when I was growing up, I loved, you know, and I remember seeing like films like what Harold Lloyd did, or Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, you know, our forefathers in cinematic storytelling. And there was always a physicality in the characters that they developed, and so it's just something that I always trained in different. You know, when I was young, I used to do stunts, or just, you know, I'd get my bike and go try to create a jump and try to jump my bike over ditches and stuff like that. I remember I was 4 years old and I always wanted to parachute. And I had this kind of idea that if I took the sheets off my bed, and I took, you know, and climbed up the roof onto the top of the garage, and I tied the ropes, and I remember they were brand new sheets. And I tied these ropes on, and I kind of jumped up on the gutter, pulled myself up onto the roof, and then, you know, I jumped off the roof. You know, not a very intelligent child, I guess, but I remember I jumped off the roof, and I remember leaving the roof, and the moment my foot left, I thought, oh, this wasn't such a good idea. And luckily, it had rained the morning and the night of, and I went and I landed in the mud, and I remember, of course, it didn't work. And my feet hit, and my face kind of went past my toes and face planted into the mud. And I kind of flew back. And I remember thinking that, you know, when you get knocked out, you really do see stars, you know? And I was just hoping that my mother didn't see this, because she'd be very upset that I had destroyed the sheets. And then I remember I woke up and I quickly tried to put the sheets back on the bed. And then I remember making films and working with the stunt guys and realizing that, oh, there's guys that do this for a living, and they teach you how to do it. Because when I learned how to ride a motorcycle, I was very young, but I just bought it and taught myself. And I would, you know, take my mother's car out in the middle of the night and do all kinds of things like that. Because I wanted to go fast, I wanted to do stunts.
Спасибо, что опять к нам приехали. Во время съемок этого фильма наверняка некоторые сцены вам пришлось переснимать, не все получалось с первого раза. Какая сцена была наиболее сложной в съемке? Какую сцену больше всего раз пришлось вам? Больше всего дублей?
You know, the interesting thing about making movies is that it's a constant evolutionary process. That you're working on the script, and then it's a different movie when you're shooting it, and then it's a different. You know, you have to constantly be willing to see what's working and what's not working. And it's something that when we have the opportunity to finally shoot. You know, we played all the time. We rehearsed, but then we started shooting. I like to rehearse on film also, so I do a lot of preparation. I spend a lot of time just combing through it, working with the director, understanding, you know, the two of us and understanding it, and Olga and Andrea Weisborough, all of us spent a lot of time with Morgan Freeman, because people bring their ideas, and you start to discover your movie. It really is a discovery, so it's not, I think it's unfair to say, you know, I always, you know, when I can pick something up, if we feel it's not working, I always like to do that. So with every scene, you know, you work on it, you work on it, you work on it. You work on it, work on it, work on it, because sometimes when you're in the editing room, it's nice to give the director lots of choices. So that he can see what's working in the story and have the room to be able to edit and adjust the film.
Многие дети на вопрос, кем ты хочешь стать, когда вырастешь, отвечают космонавтом. Кем хотели вы стать в своем детстве?
Yeah, of course. I remember growing up and wanting to be an astronaut. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to make movies since I was 4 years old. You know? But of course, I followed. I wanted to be an astronaut also. I wanted to fly jets. I wanted to, I followed that, and I'm very excited because I think tonight I get to meet a very famous Russian cosmonaut, and I'm very excited about it. It's a great honor for me.
Том, именно как раз на съемках фильма в Исландии вы отметили свое 50-летие. А могли бы вспомнить, как проходило празднование дня рождения и какие подарки вам подарили?
You know, I got a great gift because I got to keep the motorcycle from Oblivion.
Very jealous.
I know. So they gave me the motorcycle, not the bubble ship, the motorcycle. So it was.
I can keep the bubble ship.
Yeah.
У меня вопрос к господину Крузу и госпоже Куриленко. Будьте любезны, прокомментируйте, пожалуйста, окончание фильма, вашу трактовку фильма. Реальный Джек приходит к Юлии или это клон Джека? Что происходит с героем в конце? Происходит ли подмена героя? Спасибо.
We don't want to give any spoilers away. Listen, the interesting thing about this movie is, and I think that it's a film that and I remember when we were making Minority Report, and Stephen and I talked about this, it's the same with this film, that the beauty of the film, when you're watching it, that, the film takes place 60 years in the future. At the beginning of the film, you see that Jack Harper is the last man on Earth, that in 2 weeks, he has to leave Earth to go join the rest of humanity. You okay? Join the rest of humanity. And that as the film progresses, what I love about the movie is that it's romantic, but it has these wonderful twists and turns. And that for an audience to be able to experience the film, when you see it a second time, it is such a unique experience. In the same way, like with Minority Report, when people are looking at that kind of story, because that's the beauty of it, and all those pieces are right there. And an audience, all of it's right there for the audience. And it has wonderful twists and turns all the way up until the final frame of the film.
Вопрос очень простой. Что означает название фильма «Oblivion»?
I know. We were talking last night that it doesn't translate. It doesn't translate in Russian, I guess. That, but it's not.
but it's not.
По-русски это забвение.
Yeah, but that's not really it. That's not the translation. I mean, from what I understand of that, it's not really, doesn't grasp the concept. You know, when you look at the landscape, and it's someone, it's a great, in the American term, it's a great science fiction title in the English language, because I don't know how to express it in a way that will translate for a Russian audience. It's what it is. Yeah. I don't know how to translate it for you. It's not. Oh, good, good. Do you feel? Because I was asking other Russians that you're with, and they didn't feel that it's.
Ну, я думаю,
Так как это переводится дословно забвение, все-таки в фильме рассматривается вопрос памяти. В фильме история человека, который потерял память, или наполовину он не понимает, почему он помнит некоторые вещи, некоторые не помнит. Также, я думаю, рассматривается очень хороший вопрос, и фильм можно даже видеть как политический в каком-то смысле, что стоит ли нам находиться, стоит ли нам знать всю правду, стоит ли нам верить всему, что нам говорят, или и находиться в забвении, или лучше все-таки думать своей головой, как думает Джек, и он ищет правду, потому что с появлением Юлии происходит крутой поворот в истории, и он идет искать правду и смотреть правде в глаза, чего не делает его другая партнерша, и она абсолютно боится правды. Вот один человек выборочно остается в забвении, а другой пытается из него выйти. Я думаю, это очень интересно.
Вопрос к Тому Крузу. Скажите, пожалуйста, вы уже много лет играете супергероев в разных вариациях, кого-то или что-то спасаете и наказываете плохих плохих. Почему ушли в тень на такие роли, как простые люди, философские, глубокие, со смыслом, спокойные роли?
Well, you know what, I think, for me, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You know, this character of Jack Harper, in truth, he's really a blue-collar worker. He's basically a drone repairman. That he is a guy who's going down on a daily basis. He gets to do it. He's very much not a superhero. This is a guy who is, works for mission control. And he's just going down daily, and granted he's flying a very cool spaceship down, but his job is really to fix drones and repair drones and try to stay alive. So he's a very human character. He's not someone who, and he's tested in this movie to go beyond what he feels, go beyond himself.
Том, я, во-первых, хочу поблагодарить вас за участие в этом фильме. Участие актера такого класса поднимает жанр на новый уровень обязательно. И вот, что касается жанра, вы снимались у Стивена Спилберга в особом мнении в подобном жанре в будущем. Снимаетесь сейчас, снялись в Oblivion. Как вы считаете, вы своим участием в таких фильмах меняете будущее сами?